Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the absolute most fascinating historical mysteries from ancient India. We're talking about a golden age of history, and it's framed entirely around a single, seemingly impossible artifact. We're going to explore how an ancient civilization mastered a level of technology that literally has modern scientists still marveling today. So, let's jump right in. To truly appreciate the scale of this mystery, let's start with a scenario we've all probably experienced. What happens if you leave a bicycle out in the rain for, say, just 1 year? Well, you already know the answer, right? The chain seizes up, those nasty orange flakes start peeling off the frame, and the structural integrity just completely breaks down. It rusts. Mother Nature inevitably reclaims metal. Oxygen and moisture basically form this brutal chemical combo for iron, creating iron oxide. It's just a harsh scientific reality that exposed iron corrodes, breaking down super quickly when it's left unprotected against the elements. But what if I told you about a massive piece of iron that has been standing outside, fully exposed to the blistering sun, pouring seasonal monsoons, and biting winds, not for a year, not for a decade, but for 1,600 years? Think about that for a second. 16 centuries of total exposure to the elements. It's witnessed the rise and fall of entire empires around it, and yet, no rust. None. It remains entirely unaltered. It completely defies everything we intuitively know about how metal behaves in nature. Okay, let's dive into this. We're talking about the famous Iron Pillar of Delhi. This thing weighs a staggering 6 tons and towers over 23 feet high. It's just a massive monument of ancient engineering, and it stands perfectly intact today. It's an absolute testament to the incredibly advanced metallurgical skills of ancient India. Honestly, when modern scientists and historians first started studying this architectural marvel, they were completely baffled. How on earth could a civilization operating so long before the Industrial Revolution forge something so incredibly resilient? While modern scientists have heavily researched this, and they finally discovered its secret. It turns out it doesn't rust because a unique microscopic thin layer forms directly on the surface of the iron. This protective layer is created by a very specific chemical interaction. It's a reaction between the high phosphorus iron used by its creators and the ambient oxygen and moisture in the air. This layer essentially seals the iron completely, protecting it from any further internal corrosion. So the crucial takeaway here is this: whoever built this didn't just get lucky. No way. They deeply, fundamentally understood the properties of the materials they were working with. But who exactly were they? Section 1. Rise of a New Power. From the ashes of the Gupta Empire. To figure out who possessed this kind of scientific mastery, we need to travel back to a deeply transformative period in ancient India. By the 3rd century CE, the Gupta Empire, which had previously dominated the north and northwest of the Indian subcontinent for generations, was starting to weaken in fracture. And as we know, power absolutely abhors a vacuum. As that old empire faded, new regional kingdoms started fiercely competing for control. Now, while their exact origins are still kind of debated by historians, it's widely believed that a family known as the Guptas emerged as these really formidable regional rulers right around present-day Uttar Pradesh. From there, between the 3rd and 6th century CE, they completely consolidated their power, bringing some much-needed stability and establishing an empire that would flourish and permanently change the course of history. Right in the heart of this thriving new territory was their capital, Pataliputra, situated in the area of present-day Patna, along the really fertile banks of the Ganges. But this wasn't just some political center. It was a bustling, cosmopolitan hub of trade, culture, and intellectual exchange. It was from this highly strategic base that the Gupta Empire rapidly grew into the absolute most powerful and influential force on the entire subcontinent. But, an empire isn't just drawn on a map. It's actively built by ambitious people. Section 2. Building the Gupta Empire. The Era of 3 Great Kings. Before we go any further, let me just clear up a very common historical confusion, because you're going to hear the name Chandragupta quite a bit in this story. It is absolutely vital we don't confuse Chandragupta I and II of the Gupta Dynasty, the ones who ruled during this 3rd and 4th century CE explosion of culture, with Chandragupta Maurya, the legendary conqueror who actually founded the Maurya dynasty centuries earlier. And as for those numbers I and II, historians just added those simply to tell a grandfather and his grandson apart in the historical record. That tradition of naming a first son after his grandfather is a real sign of deep ancestral respect. Actually, it's a practice you still see in some Indian families today. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the visual evidence of how this newly minted empire secured its immense power. Look at the detailed figures etched into this ancient gold coin. On one side, we've got Chandragupta I standing alongside his queen, Kumara Devi. And on the flip side, a seated goddess identified as Lakshmi, the deity of wealth and prosperity. So this wasn't just physical money used to buy things. This was ancient mass media. This was political messaging. Chandragupta I played a massive role in expanding the empire's borders, and he's largely remembered for forming brilliant strategic alliances. The most notable one was definitely his marriage to Kumara Devi, who came from a very powerful lineage. That union totally cemented his political legitimacy. It was so important, he literally broadcasted it across the entire empire on gold currency. And that fierce ambition, it was directly inherited by his son, the brilliant and frankly ruthless warrior king Samudragupta. This incredible artifact is the Prayaga Prashasti, which is a massive pillar inscription located in modern-day Prayagraj. It was carefully composed by the court poet Harisena. You really should think of this less as a simple historical record and much more as a monumental, towering billboard of Samudragupta's political and military achievements. It was etched permanently into stone for all rival kings and all future generations to see. And the sheer scale of his ambition was literally earth-shattering. According to that beautiful Sanskrit inscription composed by Harisena, the king's ultimate driving goal was Dharani Bandha. That's a phrase that translates powerfully to unify the earth. To achieve this grand vision, Samudragupta launched relentless military campaigns. He systematically defeated rival kings, absorbed smaller states, and rapidly expanded the territorial borders of the Gupta Empire in almost every single direction. By successfully unifying all these disparate kingdoms into one cohesive political entity, he single-handedly set the stage for the absolute peak of this legendary dynasty. Section 3. The Reign of Chandragupta II, the creator of the pillar. We now arrive back at the man directly responsible for our 1600-year-old metallurgical mystery. Chandragupta II, who's famously known throughout history by the really heroic title Vikramaditya, was the grandson of Chandragupta I. He was a deeply devout follower of the deity Vishnu, and because of that, you'll frequently see his chosen symbol, the mythical bird Garuda, popping up on royal inscriptions and seals from this specific era. But most importantly for our story, he realized something crucial. A true empire isn't just held together by military might. Under his visionary rule, the focus really shifted toward massive cultural consolidation. So the fields of art, architecture, beautiful Sanskrit literature, and critically hard sciences like astronomy, mathematics, and metallurgy, they all experienced an absolute explosion of progress and royal patronage. And it's exactly that deep investment in science and devotion that explains the creation of the Iron Pillar. See, the ancient inscription stamped directly onto that 6-ton iron column in Delhi speaks of a mighty king named Chandra, universally identified by modern historians as Chandragupta II himself. Interestingly enough, though, this monumental object wasn't always located in Delhi. Historical evidence actually suggests it was likely first erected way over in front of the Udayagiri caves in Madhya Pradesh. It was used as an astronomical observation tool and a towering dedication to Vishnu before being painstakingly moved to Delhi many centuries later. The pillar stands today as a literal celebration of his achievements, forged in this rust-proof alloy that brilliantly showcases the unparalleled scientific genius of his era. Section 4. An Age of Creativity. India's Classical Age. And this brilliantly illustrates how the Iron Pillar is ultimately just one spectacular piece of a much larger, vibrant cultural puzzle. Just look at the breathtaking landscape of the Ajanta caves. While the complex's dating stretches from the 2nd century BCE up to about 480 CE, this UNESCO heritage site perfectly exemplifies the monumental, tireless artistry that was fostered during the Gupta period. The intricate rock-cut architecture literally carved directly into the sides of sheer cliff faces, along with the incredibly vivid murals inside, they really defined an era marked by a relentless pursuit of beauty. They were investing immense resources into building things that were, quite literally, meant to last forever. Which leads me to this phenomenal quote from Kalidasa. He's widely considered one of the greatest classical Sanskrit poets and playwrights, and he thrived under the patronage of the Gupta court during this exact era. He beautifully wrote, "Neither force nor mere diplomacy can eliminate evil. It is wisdom and knowledge that truly strengthen a kingdom, not indulgence in luxuries." That right there, that is the defining philosophical ethos of the Gupta Empire. Their most enduring legacy isn't really found in the vast physical territory they managed to conquer. It's deeply rooted in the profound wisdom, the unmatched metallurgy, the timeless poetry, and the scientific inquiry they actively prioritized above all else. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder. Chandragupta II and the Gupta Empire utilized their deep, unparalleled scientific knowledge to forge a 6-ton pillar of solid iron that has stood fiercely in the rain for 1,600 years without rusting. Looking around at our highly industrialized world today, with all of our rapidly advancing technology and, let's face it, disposable architecture, what will actually survive of our modern creations 1,600 years from now? Will our legacy be as durable, as mysterious, and as enduring as the classical wisdom of the Guptas? Thank you so much for joining me to explore this incredible slice of history.